Enter the candle shop. Lily Lily needed a summer job. And the only place that would take her while she was away from school was the candle shop. The candle shop was run by an elderly man. His name was Hubert. Now, Hubert was very quiet, very reserved, but he very meticulously made candles and set them up around his store for all his customers. His store was littered with candles, large, small, round, square, trapezoid, all sorts of shapes, different vases, different containers, some in some teacups, some very, very large, some that you could hold in two hands, some that you could hold around your waist. Hubert had dedicated his life to these candles. And part of the appeal to the candle shop was that every time you walked in, all the candles were lit. His secret was that every single day, he would continuously add wax and replace wicks to the candles. It almost seemed like an endless sea of candles. This was definitely a fire hazard, but Hubert moved very slowly across his store, spaced things out just right in case one candle were to topple over. It could be quickly picked up and put right in its place. He had crafted the perfect candle shop, free of any fire hazards. Or so he thought. Until he hired Lily, his new assistant. Hubert had worked for years on his own, but the years were catching up to him, and he needed time to rest. So he started delegating some of the work to Lily. Some of the work of pouring wax over the candles that were now becoming more and more empty, to create the illusion of these perpetual candles that the customers loved and would come to pick up more and more. Now, Lily really enjoyed the work. It was easy. It allowed her to study for her upcoming classes the following semester. And she got to be surrounded by candles, meet all sorts of nice customers. And as much as she tried to probe Hubert and learn about him, he remained reserved. There was an air of mystery around him. One day, when Lily came in to do her shift, she found Hubert sitting on his chair, slumped. He had passed in his sleep. The paramedics took him, and she was left to deal with the store. She didn't know how to proceed. She didn't know how to continue. Was she to take care of the store for good? Was it her responsibility? What was his next of kin? Should she close the store down? The candles remained perpetually on. It only made sense that she would have to turn them all off, dim all the candles. After sitting alone in the store with the closed sign put up, she began to turn the candles off one by one. As she started turning the candles off one by one, she felt wrong. She felt like she was doing something forbidden. She felt like she was being haunted by Hubert himself. She knew that it was not something she should be doing. But because sh sh her boss had now passed, she felt a responsibility to let the candle shop go. So she began to turn the candles off one by one. She did it very gently by putting a small cover on each individual candle, allowing the air, the lack of oxygen in the wicks to let the candle go out on its own. One by one, she started turning the candles off. And as she started turning more and more candles off, the shadows in the room started to take on unfamiliar shapes. As the candles that remained in the room danced, as the flames danced around her, the shadows became more and more erratic. That's when she noticed it. The one shadow in the room that seemed too dark despite all the remaining candles. She she thought this is weird. Must be some sort of optical illusion. And she continued turning candles off. With each candle, the shadow became more and more pronounced. It almost seemed to take the shape of a human, a dark, shadowy figure. Lily felt something very wrong with each candle she turned off. As she continued, she then saw a shadow move from her periphery. Every time she looked away, the shadow would move to another position. That's when she realized something was very wrong. And as she continued turning off more candles, despite her entire body telling her to stop, she realized maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I should relight some of these candles. That's when she realized she had never actually lit a candle in the store. They had always been lit. She merely filled it up with wax, filled the candles with more wax, but she never actually lit the candles herself. At this point, Lily knew she was messing with something beyond her. She left one candle remaining on in the room. The figure was now wildly moving, haunting her. She left the store with the one candle on and walked away, knowing she could never explain this to anyone. She realized that maybe she should take some time to process what had happened. So she went home and returned to the store the next day, hoping that now that they could process Mr. Hubert's death, maybe a close family member could take over and could sort this whole mess out. When she returned to the store the following day, to her surprise, the store was surrounded by fire trucks. It had burned down the night before. That lone candle was all it took. The candle shop. Thank you for listening. That one was completely made up on the spot. Well, not completely. I had come up with the premise before, but that was an improvisation for the most part of Hubert, Lily, the candle shop, the shadowy figure, and the ultimate demise of the candle shop. Thank you for listening.